Hey, this is George. Have you ever heard of Anchor.fm? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. Number two, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can hear it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Check out Anchor.fm on the iOS and Android systems.
Need psychotherapy online or in person? Check out tinyurl.com/THT psychotherapy. The George Brassey podcast is made possible with funding provided from Brassey Global Strategies, LLC, a leading political consulting, public policy, government affairs, and research firm. Are you interested in running for elected office? Need advice? Call or email George, 708-769-5015. Brassey Global Strategies 1@gmail.com.
Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall. Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall, Chicago Heights, Illinois. Snow was on everybody's mind at Wednesday night's Chicago Heights City Council meeting. The Chicago area was hit by a major snowstorm, and Chicago Heights had about 10 inches of snow dumped on it Tuesday and Wednesday. City Hall was closed Wednesday afternoon because of the winter storm, and garbage pickup on Wednesday and Thursday was also postponed. And students at Chicago Heights School District 163 went to remote learning Wednesday because of the storm. The mayor's chief of staff, Karen Zaranti, thanked city workers for their efforts. She told the council that city workers had been working round the clock to keep city streets open and safe, and would continue to do so throughout the duration of the storm. Fifth Ward Alderman George Brassey also lauded city workers, saying, "The snowstorm we have experienced in recent days has been terrible, but the City of Chicago Heights Public Works Department has done an excellent job in maintaining the roads during the snowstorm. Each and every resident's request that was submitted to my office was addressed in a quick and efficient fashion." Christopher Bykoskas, 4th Ward Alderman, added that Public Works is working diligently, doing a great job cleaning up the streets. In other business, Zaranti said that the city would be hosting its second Illinois Department of Public Health clinic offering vaccinations and booster shots 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, February 12 at City Hall. The council also approved an ordinance renewing the city's employee health insurance policy and premium. The city expects to see premiums remain roughly the same. The city's benefits and insurance consultant told the council that he was able to negotiate lower rates with its insurer, Blue Cross/Blue Shield PPO, despite higher prescription drug usage by the 231 employees covered under the policy. Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall.
Before we get to the interview, I just want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Union Signs and Printing. Union Signs and Printing is a union sign shop located near Chicago, Illinois, that specializes in the production of corrugated plastic lawn signs used in applications ranging from political and election usages to unions, schools, and businesses. They also produce a vast array of other products, including American-made, union-printed t-shirts, banners, bio cards, literature, door hangers, business cards, and trifold. Get a hold of Union Signs and Printing at 815-740-1688 or find them on the internet at unionsignsandprinting.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about their services on the George Brassey podcast. I'm so glad to welcome Pastor Corey Persons of Presence Church to the podcast. Pastor Corey, welcome.
Welcome. Good morning, my friend. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm very good. Better than I deserve.
Yes. Same here. Good to be on. I'm glad for this invite.
Yeah, absolutely. You were one of the, people I wanted to highlight and have them share their story. So tell the audience a little bit about what led to you becoming a pastor.
It's interesting. Um, so my story of how I kind of became a pastor at Presence Church is interesting. My dad and my mom actually founded our church, and years back it was actually called J-Hop, Jesse's House of Prayer, and the church was founded on 24-hour prayer. So if you could imagine, they had 24-hour prayer for the first 5 years. They had like shifts of people that would come, morning, evening, night, just 24 hours around the clock. And I was working with my dad, and I was interning at the time because I wanted to do ministry, but I also always had a heart for like human services and business. And I was talking to my dad one day on the phone, and my job was ending. I was doing an internship with UPS in their like human resource and business department. And I was on the phone with my dad. I'm fussing about my internships ending. And all of a sudden he just stops. He says, well, Corey, you're supposed to be an advocate for people. You'll do good business, you'll do good ministry work, but at some point, you're going to, probably take over the church, and you'll probably take over your own business and become an advocate, for different people. And it's so interesting. Later on that next day, later that night, I get a call from my sister, and my father has passed away in his sleep. Not sick, nothing wrong, nothing, just gone. And this last conversation that we have unfolds. And so I find myself then on this path where I'm not over the church yet, but I'm now stepping up. All this responsibility is coming to me, and now I'm pastoring alongside my mom, and eventually, about 6 years ago, end up taking over the entire church. And so that's kind of my journey of how I, went from just being in the workforce fully and just kind of doing ministry, and then ended up actually fully pastoring the church now, which is now Presence Church, for 6 years. So,
Do you feel like the loss of your father in that last conversation? Do you feel like going into the ministry was a way for you to heal from that loss?
it's interesting. Yes, yes, to a degree. One of the things I learned, as leaders, sometimes we kind of heal on the go, which can be healthy and sometimes unhealthy. So I was able to kind of unpack that unhealthy part of that, which I was really happy. My mom was always very intentional about the family, doing counseling and dealing with our issues as a family apart from us leading the church, which really made it kind of sober. And people who know our family, they always say, oh my God, they're so close, they're so this. And we're not close. We are close, but what helps us is that we've learned through the years how to separate, our calling, of course, to lead God's church from just being mom and son and sister and brother, and just figuring out what that looks like. So that's why I think I'm very intentional about relationships and just talking through issues, because, most pastors' kids end up regretting the church, hating the church and just all of that kind of stuff, because the church takes their parents away from them. So they were really intentional about making sure that didn't happen.
And now, as it currently stands, your wife is a partner in the church, in the management of the church daily.
Yes, Mary. Yes, she plays her part well. Yeah, Mary is very good. She's not a co-pastor of the church, but I mean, she probably would be if she was to take the title. I mean, she really does. Mary is very influential in the strategic part of the church. Especially the media, the technology. She's an IT professional. She's a project manager for a living, and so she has really helped kind of come alongside me and take that vision and really put the vision in a plan and help us kind of carve out what we're doing. So yeah, she plays a really big role. She used to be behind the scenes, not so much now. I would say she's kind of right in the front of the scene with me now. I think she's kind of shifted from behind the scenes to she's right there in the front with me. We're both kind of working this thing together. So yeah.
Do you feel like your parents working so closely together, does that make things easier or more difficult for you and your wife to work so closely together?
It helped us, people, what I learned in ministry with my parents is that, and we're probably doing the same thing with our kids, people really teach you what not to do, not so much of what to do. And so my parents kind of taught us what not to do in some areas around ministry and relationships and just things like that. And so Mary and I both are just workers. So we both kind of had to learn how to pull back from so much work and just put some of that work, make sure we're divvying out the work. So I think for us, we had to really make sure we were divvying out the right amount of time on our family and us and not just the church. Both of us, we like success, we like to win. And so sometimes, that can be good. The downfall to it is that, now you're both working on this church and being successful, and you'll look up and you see the gaps in the relationship that's missing. You know what I mean? So I think that's where we kind of were different from my parents. It was actually the reverse. I don't think my parents, they went through ministry stuff, but at the end of the day, I mean, they kind of kept home, and church, whereas Mary and I, we worked outside of church. So our approach to ministry was different. We took it on like our job. You know what I mean? We were really working this thing. And so we had to really kind of pull back and say, wait a minute, we're working too much on this church. We got to make sure, we're working on our relationship. We got to make sure we're still, dating and hanging out and doing other stuff. So again, just being very relationally intentional, I think that's what has saved us, through the years of doing this. It's just being able to know when that check light or when that red light comes on and says, okay, we need to stop. We need to look at this. And I know in ministry, a lot of times we just ignore that red light. We're just trained to kind of go. So yeah, that would be our difference.
Tell the audience a little bit about what Presence Church's denominational or theological background is.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so we're non-denominational. It's very charismatic, church. I always say I definitely feel like we have those Pentecostal roots, but it's a non-denominational church. And what I love, it's a very spirit-filled church. I was just on a call with someone, and her friend visited the church actually this Sunday. And everybody says that our church, we call it Presence Church, connect with God, connect with people. And my person that just called me right before I got on this broadcast, she was literally giving me a story of her friend that visited this Sunday. And she literally was saying, oh my God, I felt so connected to God in the service. The presence of God was so strong in the service, in Pastor's message. And so I think, relationally and spiritually for our church, our DNA is really, the presence of God. And I think that's why even the church is called Presence Church. We want to take God's presence kind of everywhere. And it doesn't matter where we are, whether we're at a service or a basketball game, or if we're out feeding the community, people always tell us that they feel this presence of God, in the service and when with us. So I would say that's really what we're known for, the spiritual, I guess like you say, the theological background. We're really known for people coming there to really connect and experience God, not just church, but really get to know God. Because you can be in church forever and not even hear God's voice for yourself. You know what I mean? You don't know. I always tease our church. I said some of us don't even know God's voice from bad gas. It's just it's what it is. But at our church, I think people always echo, that they get connected to God there. So that's what I would say.
So when you talk about the charismatic style, the Pentecostal style, unpack what that means a little bit further.
Perfect. Yep. So definitely, I mean, our church, we definitely believe in, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. In our service, you definitely would see prophecy go forth. You may see someone getting hands laid on them, or prior to COVID, we'd be laying hands on people and praying for people. You can easily see someone, slain in the spirit at the church, maybe on the floor, just laid out at the altar crying. And we just know that sometimes that's just not always the atmosphere of church traditionally. So we always laugh. We say our church is the most organized place. So you're going to have all the structure, but then the spirit is very free, And so just to unpack that, some churches are very word-based, very letter-driven, and so you're going to get a great word. You may not necessarily experience the spirit of God at the church, but you'll experience the word. Then there's some churches where the spirit is very, very high, whether you people are praising God or crying, or there's just this atmosphere that's unpacked, but then the word may be very scarce. You know what I mean? It's just all experience and not a lot of teaching and not a lot of words. So I think what unpacks Presence Church is that it's a great balance of spirit and word. You're getting the presence, you're getting that atmosphere, you're getting that charismatic, presence, but you're also getting very good teaching, you're getting solid, good word. And so it's just a great mixture between both.
Pastor Corey, your church is located on the east side of the city of Chicago Heights. Tell the audience why you chose that location to build your church.
It's funny, at first, when God was calling me to Chicago Heights, I thought God wanted me to be initially in Blue Island. And the reason I was targeting Blue Island was because of the diversity. Our church has always had a very diverse reach, ethnic diversity specifically. And so it was so funny when the Lord sent me to Chicago Heights. At first, I was like, why am I coming to the Heights? I thought I was going to be over there. And, it was interesting how we have our plan, but God has his plan. I didn't know then how ethnically diverse Chicago Heights was. So it's so funny when we came to Chicago Heights, I believe God brought us there because he wanted me to reintroduce Jesus to Chicago Heights. And what I mean by that, there's tons of churches, and I think they've probably done wonderful work in the Heights. However, God has really brought me there to really, like I say, reintroduce Jesus to the Heights. Through our basketball shootouts. We've done basketball shootouts. We had over 80 kids from the community, even from the community of Chicago Heights, that registered, came. I think we gave away like $1,000 to the winner. You and your wife came to that. It was amazing. And this was during COVID, and I mean, these kids came out, they were affected, the community feedings we do. And I just really believe Chicago Heights, we were sent there because my background outside of pastoring is workforce development. Right now, I have contracts with hospitals and Walmart and just different retailers. I won't say names, but just different retailers. And we're helping those people get back to work. And so Chicago Heights, economic development wise, they need jobs. The residents need to be trained and skilled on how to go back to work and how to re-enter the workplace, even if you've been incarcerated. And so again, that's all of what we do. And I think we were brought to the Heights to really reintroduce Jesus through these different avenues, not just the church. We want them to come to church, but we also want them to meet Jesus through all of these different avenues apart from just our Sunday service.
Pastor, last summer you mentioned the basketball shootout where we first met. I remember you had a Father's Day event.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about Father's Day.
What are some things you're planning for this upcoming summer?
So the basketball was a hit, so we're definitely doing that again. But they now want to also focus with all of COVID on kind of a prayer walk, health and fitness day, where we're going to we're going to be looking at becoming a vaccination site for the Heights. And we've already been approached. We're working with someone now around that. I know we did COVID testing at the church, but now we want to be, just a vaccination site to just help push that agenda of just, people being comfortable. And so that health and fitness, blood screening, we've done an assessment to the community. There's a high, HIV, just being able to give people tests and different things that they can do just to help them be fit and aware. I know we want to do that day. And those are kind of the things we're kind of focusing on. And then the kids, again, just, kids are getting ready to go back to school this year. A lot of kids that were out last year, and so they may not need a backpack, but they may need, a laptop or something this year. So we're just already planning around, what can we do to kind of give kids in Chicago Heights that bump, that push as they kind of go back to school. So that's what's on our calendar literally right now as we speak, starting June through September. I know you'll see us out there.
Pastor Corey, the last question I always ask my guests to speak about 2 books that have been influential to you as a person that you would recommend to the audience.
I was thinking about that. I kept saying, what's the other book? So I really have one book. There's this one book that I have. I was trying to come up with the second book that I thought was but the one that really, really has hit me, and I use this in sessions. I've used this in my personal life, my ministry life, and a lot of people probably haven't heard of it. It's The 5 Languages of Apology, and it's by Dr. Gary Chapman and Jennifer Thomas. And I love this book because it breaks down these different apology languages. And what I find in relationships, I know we have love languages, but apology languages seem to be very important to me because we're always facing some type of conflict in life, whether it's ministry or our marriage or our family or our coworkers, or we always find ourselves having to amend or apologize or make something right. And just being able to effectively do that and communicate, with people, and being able to strengthen those relationships and let people know, speak their language of apology. I always tease my wife, her apology language is making restitution, which is pretty hard. That one means this is a person, you can tell them you're sorry or whatever, and that's fine. But for them, they need to see you make good on your word over time. They look for a change behavior over time. And for her, book is a good one. And anybody that reads it will definitely be able to apply it, regardless of what their walk of life is. If they're a leader, if they're just married, if they're single, it'll help you in your relationship. So that's the one that I love.
Pastor Corey, I'll let you off the hook since you're a pastor. I'm just going to have to ask you, what is an influential book of the Bible that you feel the audience?
You said, what is the influential book of the Bible that I love?
Yeah. Which one?
Believe it or not, it's the one that most people don't like. It's Revelations. I have always had a love for the book of Revelations. I am a deep end time reader. I have been since I was honestly in high school. I was fascinated by the supernatural and just end time teaching, even when I was very, very, very young. I remember my pastor, I think I was 14 when I first heard him speak about the rapture and just all these different things and the mark of the beast. What was these things? I've always had an intrigue to that. I love the book of Revelations. Most people are so freaked out by the book. Me, I don't know. I am drawn to the book of Revelations. I see so much of it, that unfolding even right now, as we're living in 2021 in a pandemic. But that is my favorite, actually, book of the Bible is the book of Revelations.
Pastor Corey, where can the audience find you on the internet, and tell them when your services are held on Sunday?
Sure, absolutely. You can follow me on Facebook at Corey Person. You can also follow my church on Facebook at Presence Church, and on Instagram, I'm on Presence Church Chicago. So Instagram, we're Presence Church Chicago. Facebook is just Presence Church. And then if you go on Facebook or Instagram individually outside of the church, it's just Corey Person. So you can follow me there. Our services are twice a month right now. We're doing 2 in-person services a month, and we're still doing 2 online just to make people comfortable. And our services are at 11:30. So we would love to have you either check us out on Facebook or IG or pop in. And if you go on our website, you can always see our service times. So our website is www.ilovepresencechurch.org. So we make you say you love us. So it's ilovepresencechurch.org.
Pastor Corey, thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Oh man, thank you so much for having me. And I appreciate all the work you keep doing as well in the city of Chicago Heights. So we're grateful for this connection and relationship with you as well. So thank you.
Amen to that. Talk to you soon, Pastor Corey.
All right, talk to you. Bye-bye.
Help George stay on the Chicago Heights City Council. Go and donate today at tinyurl.com/AldermanGeorge 2023. Need more George? Like his pages on Facebook. Friends of George Brassey PAC, Fifth Ward Business Alliance, Chicago Heights Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, and the George Brassey Podcast.